All right, friends and family. Thank you guys so much for tuning into Every Day's a Saturday with your host, me, myself, Brian Roof. Hey guys, I am super excited to announce a couple things before we get started on today's episode 16, which is end of active service. All right, so I told you guys I had some pretty cool news, but before I get off with the cool news, I want to give also a shout out to a couple guys that have been listening to the show. I know from the beginning, you guys have been messaging me about the show. I'm really appreciative of everybody who has been tuning in, but I really want to give a huge shout out to these three. One is my cousin, Jeremy Roof. Hey, I really appreciate you, man. You've been, you know, giving me a lot of, support and watching, and you give me, messages pretty much after every show. I really appreciate it. You're one of my most active listeners, and I can't thank you enough, cuz. And I want to give a huge shout out to a good friend of mine, Jay Manley. I really appreciate you, man. You're another one that has messaged me a couple times about the show. I really appreciate your words of encouragement and also words of advice. And as well as Chris Alateri. Some of you guys may remember him as well. He was another one of my guests, but he also is someone who messages me often and, keeps giving me words of encouragement as well as some great advice. So I really appreciate you three, and I appreciate everyone who has listened to the show and has given me a like and given me a message. I can't thank you enough. And also, because of all of you guys giving me so much and stuff like that, the show's starting to get a little bit more attention, getting some good views on the YouTube side as well as listening on the audio side. So I'm super excited, and I'm more excited about this too. I'm going to get to go on another podcast show. I found these guys on Facebook originally, then I've seen them on TikTok, and then I started checking them out on YouTube. The show is called Contagion Effect. It's hosted by two awesome guys named Eric and Mike. These guys love and support the veterans and first responder community, and that's the basis of the show. They have their guest on, and it is live. This one is going to be this Thursday, March 30th. If you are listening to this before then, you can check it out live. If you're listening to this after March 30th, you can go back on YouTube and check it out. Again, this show is called Contagion Effect, and it's going to be live on YouTube, and it's at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I really hope you guys have an opportunity to check it out. Also, I hope everybody out there is doing well. I hope that, the year is treating you well. If it's not, don't forget there's, people you can go out and talk to. If you don't feel comfortable talking to a close friend or family, you can always call the number 988 and talk to someone over there. All you got to do is press 1, and it will put you in touch with someone who can possibly help you with what you're going through. But anyways, I hope everybody's having a good time, and let's go ahead and get ready for the show. All right, friends and fam, let's get into today's episode 16, End of Active Service. All right, guys, if you guys haven't had a chance to check out the previous episodes, you can go back and check those out on Spotify, Anchor, iHeartRadio, Amazon Radio, Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, basically all the podcast platforms. And also, if you want to go check me out, you can check me out on YouTube and watch it. If you haven't had a chance to go over there and subscribe, please do that. And also like the channel. I would really appreciate it, guys. I can use all the love and support I can get. I appreciate every one of you. All right, so let's get into end of active service. All right, so this episode is going to conclude my time in service in the Marine Corps. So if you guys had listened up to this point, last time I talked about, basically being a sitting duck over there in the Middle East at Camp Commando in Kuwait. And, we were very instrumental in supplying the frontline Marines. So let me kind of, jump right back into it. As we are over there, things kind of started to settle down somewhat. It wasn't as chaotic. Around mid-April, they had caught Saddam Hussein, and they took him out of power. You would think that would kind of seize things, but it definitely didn't, because there's always someone over there that's looking for the next power. So we definitely weren't out of the clear, and we were still taking some incoming over there at Camp Commando. And one of the times we had taken, one of the Patriots shot a missile out of the sky. Some of the debris had fell down, and I caught one of the tents on fire, and it had set a huge inferno there, because, as you can imagine, it was hot as hell. Like I said, if you listened to the previous episode, we were reaching into the 130 degree temperatures. So it's super hot over there, and any little spark or anything would light these tents on fire, because they're just made out of fabric. And so all these Marines had lost all their stuff. I mean, everything they had, brought, and everything they had ever been issued. So now, being supply, it's our duty to make sure that these guys got all that they need. And at the time, our group is already basically split in half, because we had half of the Marines that had to go forward into Iraq and hold down the supply line in the forward, and then we had Marines back at Camp Commando in Kuwait who were, receiving all the gear and then feeding the convoys that were going into Iraq. So, we're already very, split up at this point in time, not at full man, full strength. And there's also, some of our groups back at the rear, which is in Camp Pendleton, California. So now at this point in time, with this whole fire going on, now we have to split up another group of team, which I got put on this team, and we had to go set out to the different camps, and we had to go try to find, all the stuff that the Marines had were missing, like their camis, their sea bags, their boots, everything that you are issued, web belts, the LBVs, Kevlars, flak jackets, everything. And I mean, some of them obviously had some of their gear on them, like their flak jackets and helmets like that, but some of them didn't. And Camp Commando, Kuwait, was definitely a spot where a lot of rotations were happening. We had a lot of the grunt units coming in who were, on the front lines, and they would come back to Camp Commando, and then another unit would go replace them, and it was just kind of like to give these guys a break off the front lines. So a lot of the Marines that had lost their stuff were grunt guys. They all needed their stuff immediately. There was no sleeping during this effort. It was probably a good 48 hours, but within that time frame, we were able to round up all the stuff that we needed to, and got these guys, back up and running immediately. One thing I can tell you in the Marine Corps is you're never going to stop us from, accomplishing what we got to accomplish when we got to accomplish something. Also, something that was really amazing, being over there in the Middle East, is seeing all the different, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marine Corps, all of us having to work together. And not just us, but like all the different countries, and all the other players that were involved, the UK, the Australia, NATO, all those people, they all were over there. And to watch it all work together is something else. And you do a lot of training. You train. You can never train for the live stuff. It's just you can try to prepare yourself for it, but when it's live, you just never know what's going to happen, and you can train 1,000 things, and it's that 1,001 thing that happened that you didn't train for. But being over in that zone, it was, like I said, something, that I can never, ever relate to in my day life. I would never experience something like that ever again. The stories, some of the people that were over there, just some of the guys that you wouldn't think could go out there and kick ass are over there kicking ass, and some of the ones you think kick ass don't kick ass. I mean, you see a lot of things when the shit actually hits the fan. You see who's really ready and who is the ones that are going to fight the fight. But I could tell you that being a part of the United States of America, our fighting force is like no other. We it was we pretty much mowed down anybody that came our way. At least in my unit, I know there was some other units that didn't fare well. I mean, because we're playing in their playing field. They know their cities better than we do. They know all their roads better than we do. So that's where they definitely had the advantage on us. But other than that, when it came to weaponry, air power, all those things, we had superiority, whatever. There was definitely no Iraqi planes in the sky. Our Air Force ruled the sky. Air Force, Navy, all the guys that flying over there definitely ruled the sky. The only thing that we had to worry a lot about were the handheld RPGs and the IEDs and all those things that were planted. Those were definitely an advantage to them. Like I said, you had to be pretty inconspicuous, especially being in different units. There's definitely different tactical measures that are taken to ensure that we don't get ambushed or overtaken. I mean, Marines are very cautious on things, and I'm not going to disclose a lot of our secrets because obviously that would be stupid here on the World Wide Web where everybody could watch. But I'm sure it's been disclosed and it's out there already. But anyhow, let's see. So about mid-June or so, and I remember it being around June, because it's right before 4th of July. I get a Red Cross message that my step grandmother is on her way to passing away, and they wanted to try to get me home in time to say goodbye to her. I'd grown pretty close with her. She had lived with my family for a while before she had passed. So my commanding officer and them let me go ahead and go home. So they booked a civilian flight for me, and it was all a flight that I went on all by myself. Kind of sketchy getting on a civilian flight from the Middle East. My first layover was over in Dubai, and I wouldn't say it was necessarily like a layover. It was just like a quick, switching of the plane type thing. So I get to Dubai, and when I'm getting out of Dubai, man, it's like, I'm around all these Middle Eastern people, and here I am, like an American, just sticking out like a sore thumb. I'm in civilian attire, but still, I mean, I got the haircut. I definitely look like a military member at that time. So I'm trying to walk through there, and my whole thought is, man, I just want to get to my gate for my next flight immediately. So that was just my intention is, hey, go straight to my gate. And that's exactly what I did, got there. From there, my next flight was from Dubai to Amsterdam. I'm thinking, Amsterdam, hell yeah, bro. Like, I've always heard the coolest thing about Amsterdam. So I was kind of excited, like, all right, Amsterdam. So we get to Amsterdam, the plane gets to Amsterdam, get out. I have like a 3 to 5 hour layover there. And I'm like debating in my head, like, all right, I got enough time where I can go out and do stuff, but I don't know this place good enough to where I don't know how long it could take me to get back here. So the Marine in me decided, all right, let's stay here and just, don't go out and get yourself in any trouble. So I went ahead and I stayed at the Dangon airport and I walked around. That was my extent of getting to see Amsterdam. I didn't get to go out in the streets and check it out and go into any cool shops or anything like that. But so I get on my flight from Amsterdam, and my next stop from there, I want to say was on the East Coast, and I want to say it was like Chicago or something like that. They put me on the plane. I'm sitting next to this female, and she is a really cool lady. She's, we're just chitting, chatting it up, and I come to find out she's a comedian, and because I'm like, oh man, they put me next to an American. That's pretty cool, because I'm on the flight with all different kinds of foreigners, and so it's just kind of odd that I get sit next to an American, and she's over there supporting the troops. Here I am, a Marine. We weren't at the exact same base that, she was over there supporting this AYSO tour and doing stand-up comedy. And I was just like, I was really blown away by that. She was a really funny person, great person to have a good conversation with. Wish I remembered her name. But anyways, something it's kind of cool about her is I end up seeing her on Last Comic Standing way, like several years later on on the TV, and I'm just like tripping out, like, no way, dude. I sat next to her on, my flight. And I was really happy to see her on there and seeing that she had progressed so well in her comedian life. And I know that she had gone on, and I seen her like on doing different skits on the Comedy Channel. So I know that her career was starting to flourish, and I was so happy. But anyhow, when I get to my next flight from the East Coast was all the way, they flew me all the way to LAX, which is where I would greet my family there. So I have like my mom, my sister, my little brother, my stepdad. They're all sitting there with my sign, welcome home. And I got to go through the whole customs and courtesy thing, or, custom and courtesy, but the whole customs. And they're sitting there checking my bags and everything, because obviously I just came from a whole combat zone, and they wanted to check everything I own, inside my shoes, everything. So I went through my extensive search, got back. My mom wanted to bring my truck. I had this newer F-150. I had put some rims on it, had like a little system on it. I, really missed my truck, so they brought that over. I was so excited. Got in my truck, driving home. All my family members are just sitting there holding those shit handles and like gripping onto the seats, because I'm over there driving all super aggressive, because I'm used to driving over in the Middle East. Because something I don't think I've ever shared on the other episodes is how crazy driving over there is, and they have some of the most massive roundabouts, where it's this huge circle with like, they're up to like, I don't know how many lanes. I maybe want to say 6 to 8 lanes. And, they got all these different exits for you to exit off. And man, you can get stuck on that roundabout for a while and watch your exit just keep, coming up and leaving you, because you can't get out of this damn, roundabout. And these people are driving like literally bumper to bumper. It's like you're kissing each other's bumpers as you're going through. It is something absolutely crazy. And other things that were kind of crazy about driving over there would be, you'd see this small little pickup truck, and back it'd be this fucking camel sitting there laying down, and camel's like half the size of the truck that it's in, and it just looks super crazy, man. Seeing these big ass camels in the back of these little small pickup trucks. But so anyhow, I'm driving home, like normal. Get home, and like I said, unfortunately I didn't make it in time for my step grandma. She had already passed away. Fortunate enough, though, I was there and able to go to her memorial service and her funeral and all that stuff. So went to that, and they gave me like a little bit of leave, and also 4th of July, like I said, had been coming up, and I didn't really know, I guess, what to expect. I gotta say, being back home, it was odd and weird, going from a area where you felt all the time like you're on alert, and that you're basically on point for your life. Being in a combat zone, even if you are in the support area, we were a target over there we were, sitting ducks. We were constantly running, from incoming missiles. So, like I said, coming from that, and then all of a sudden just coming back to normal peace place and trying to get your mind to get out of that zone. It's a really hard transition, and because I had this Red Cross message, there was no transitioning from me going from the combat zone, back to Camp Pendleton and then out into public with my family. So it was kind of asked backwards because of the Red Cross message. I was able to go home right from, the combat field. And so I remember around the 4th of July time frame, people start shooting off their fireworks. And I remember this like damn near hitting the floor, hearing some of the fireworks when I was first at home. And then I'm sitting there freaking out like constantly. My anxiety was on point. And also I was having issues with sleeping because of the time difference. So it started getting into where I was having bad issues sleeping, just constantly thinking, Scud missiles are coming or, alarms are going off and while I'm sleeping. Because over there, when we were in the Middle East, we were constantly being woken up from Scud alarms at some time. And then we're just, going from a dead sleep to a dead sprint run to, to get for shelter. So going back and being at home, what a transition. And I remember for the 4th of July week, I really was like, I really can't be around here. So I took off towards like, areas that were not allowed to have fireworks. I went towards the mountain area and some of the areas where there's like a fire area and you're not allowed to do fireworks. Kind of got myself out of the element. And like I said, that first week, or that first couple weeks home, what a transition that was, like I said, and having to be introduced right into 4th of July, where here I am, my biggest trigger and thing was like booms and bangs, especially the sudden ones that I didn't see, or I don't, I'm not aware of that it's getting ready to happen. I'm a lot better now to the point where if I'm around it and I see things up front in front of myself, I'm okay. But if there's something that's unexpected, booms and bangs, it really does play a number on me and makes me feel a kind of way. And I wish I wish I didn't have to go through that and didn't experience that, because it has affected me in a lot of ways where I had to leave places that my family didn't understand why we had to leave early or things of that nature. But let's see. So while I'm home, I kind of kept to myself at that time. Just spent a lot of time with my family. I had missed them. I was very grateful to be back at home. And then, of course, it was time to go back to duty. And when I went back, they were kind of making a determination of whether they really wanted to send me back over to the Middle East, or, just keep me back because I was getting ready to get out. So, and I had saved up enough time to where I could actually get out earlier than my actual end of service time. So I had, because in the Marine Corps, if you could save up to, I think it was like 63 days, and if you saved up to, that's the maximum you can save. And if you had 63 days, you could actually kind of get out early. You can basically take 63 days of leave until your contract ends, and that's obviously what I was able to do because I wasn't able to take leave and things of that nature while I'm over, in the Middle East and stuff like that for those 6 months. So I go back to work, and it's kind of weird being back at work because a lot of people are gone. They're still over there in the Middle East, and there's a lot of new Marines that have been coming in, and so it was like, dealing with all these boots. They don't know how to do the job and things like that. So you're coming back, and they all been doing things their way, and then you come back and you're like, oh shit, man, now I gotta adjust back to, how they've changed things over here because all these different Marines are in place and things of that nature. So um, it was quite the experience, and I was fortunate enough, like I said, to had getting out the 63 days early. I was very nervous about getting out at this point in time when I started to go see you go see a career planner guy, and they kind of try to talk you into staying in and stuff of that nature, asking you, well, if you're getting out, what do you got yourself planned for, and things like that. And at the time, I had kind of had something lined up. I had talked to my stepmom, who worked in the aerospace industry. She worked at a place called Northrop Grumman, and I had something kind of lined up. I also had been talking to like a State Farm insurance agent person, and I was gonna possibly do that. But the only thing with that is, it's like you really got to build clientele. It's not like they give you a set of clientele and you're already making money. And I needed to start making income, relatively quick. So um, I went ahead and took the early enlistment, went back and moved home for a quick little short time. Got an interview at Northrop Grumman, and Northrop Grumman uh, took me in. It was My interview was pretty easy with them. I had interview with a Marine who was in the Vietnam era, and then his boss was another Marine. So a lot of my interview had to talk. We were talking about Marine Corps stuff like that, and so I was very fortunate to have that hookup because my stepmom had worked there for a while, and she knew the boss man. So it was kind of a way in, and so I was fortunate enough to get that job over there. Then I also had connected with one of my best friends that I had grown up with. He was kind of looking to get out of his house, so the two of us decided, all right, let's go ahead and just get ourselves a little place together, and we'll move on out, man. And so that's kind of what we did. We found ourselves a little duplex apartment or whatever, um, and it was pretty cool. I gotta say, I had a lot of fun living with my buddy. And then, of course, I got myself hooked up with a woman and got myself, kid and married and all those things. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here right now, because that's going to be how I'm going to get myself into the next episode. But before go off, I want to just, end this episode by saying my venture in the Marine Corps was, during the time, I do recall a lot of times where I was always looking like, man, I can't wait to get out. I can't wait to get out. And then, after getting out and being out for a while, there's a lot of things that I think you miss and you really appreciate. And one of them is the brother and the sisterhood that you form, and these bonds that you create with some of these people that you get to know them better than family members. And unfortunately, when we get out, and some of us are in different states, different cities, and I mean, we're miles and miles away from each other. So it's not like we all get to hang out like we used to. And so, we do lose a little bit of touch. But the nice thing is a lot of times when I reconnect or I talk to one of these people, it's kind of like it was something that we, never left off on. And like, we're back to where we were when we, left each other. So that is pretty cool and unique. I am always proud to be a Marine. I have no regrets of joining the Marine Corps. It was the best decision for me and for my life. Yes, I have elements from it, but I have always pushed through and tried to make the best out of every situation. So no matter what, I'm trying to keep myself always on the upward side, and try not to go downward, because I've hit rock bottom a couple times in my life. And as you guys will hear in some of these next up and coming episodes in my life after the Marine Corps, you'll hear how I definitely hit some rock bottom spots in my life, and my world kind of spiraled out of control. And it took a little time to get myself back and regain my focus. And I'm still on that trajectory of trying to get better, trying to be a better person, trying to be a better husband, trying to be a better dad. all those good things. But anyways, guys, I really, like I said, I can't appreciate you guys enough for taking the time to listen to me. I know sometimes I may not be the most funnest person and stuff like that, but I have some really great interviews that are getting ready to be coming up. I hope you guys have been enjoying some of the previous interviews that we've had. And like I said, I'm always trying to improve the show, trying to get it better. And I want to say thank you guys so much for listening or watching Every Day is a Saturday with your host, me, myself, and I, Brian Roof. You guys have a great one. Take care.